All right, it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Thanks again for joining us on our monthly webinar with GoMining Institutional. It's great to see everyone. And this month, we're actually joined by Jeremy. So, Jeremy, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Fakhul. So, my name is Jeremy Dreyer. I am the Chief Business Development Officer of Go Mining Global, and then one of the other managing directors of Go Mining Institutionals together with Fakhul. For those that don't know, kind of the background on what Go Mining is, we are the world's largest retail platform for tokenized Bitcoin mining, with over 8.5 exahash of power under management. And at this point, we're over 3.7 million users worldwide and like 165, 170 different countries. Large platform, but now the focus more is moving on to institutional side as well, and that's what we're going to be discussing today.
And then thanks, Jeremy, for joining us. Oh, someone's phone's gone off. No problem. Jeremy, great to have you. And yep, for those that don't know me or are new to the webinar, I am Fakhul, one of the other managing directors of GoMining Institutional. And we also have Nico, who is our resident analyst. So Nico, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fakhul, for having me. Nico Smid. I have a background in economics, spent most of my career on international business development and trade promotion. And I'm of the class of 2017, as they call it. So bought my first Bitcoin early 2017 and have been going down that rabbit hole for ever since. And started mining in 2021. And that's also when I started providing market insights about mining. Have been doing that for over almost 4 years, and joined you guys to provide these market insights to your clients and followers.
Excellent. Thank you, Nico. So as you know, our normal viewers will recall, we generally use this space to provide the latest market insights and alpha around what's taking place in the Bitcoin mining ecosystem and more broadly Bitcoin. As some of you may know, recently Bitcoin Vegas took place a few weeks back, which is the premier annual gathering of Bitcoin enthusiasts, founders, regulatory experts, basically the movers and shakers in the space. And this year, Go Mining was ever present, and we had a huge presence there, including individually. So let's, we're gonna mix it up this time around, and we'll just have a fireside conversation between the three of us, providing our insights, our main takeaways, and some of our interesting forecasts or alpha that we can share with the audience. So, Jeremy, I'll start with you. Maybe at a super high level, we can get into the details a bit later on, but maybe if we could just talk a little bit around what was Go Mining's presence at Vegas and what was your individual presence. I know you was part of a panel, and you did a ton of media interviews, etc., etc. But yeah, please, would love to hear more.
Yeah, definitely. So, Go Mining went big this year when it came to Bitcoin 2025 in Vegas. We were one of the top moon sponsors of the entire event. When you're walking through the massive conference center, the Venetian in Vegas, you saw Go Mining everywhere. So we had the Go Mining Enterprise stage that was branded under Go Mining. We had what we consider and what most have told us the best booth also in the entire space. On top of that, of course, I spoke on a panel discussing how virtualized mining is reshaping the Bitcoin landscape together with Charlie Brady from BitFuFu and Andy Wang from Hashwhale. We kind of broke down, how virtualized mining works for those that still don't understand it, and then why it's the future of Bitcoin mining in general, with all of the changes that are happening in the landscape. Beyond that, like Fakhul said, a couple different interviews with top media firms that were on site, and then of course morning till night, we were in meetings either at the booth or in other locations in the Venetian. It was amazing. It was very surprising of the major changes that are happening in the Bitcoin space, in the Bitcoin mining space in general, and the quality of conversations that we're having. So I think it was a great event. It was great for Go Mining, and I look forward to repeating it next year in Vegas as well.
You're muted, Fakhul, but
Oh, I apologize. So Jeremy, I know during your panel you were maybe a little bit diplomatic, but I know questions we often get, and it would be great to get, set the record straight. Cloud mining has historically had a bad rep. Um, and we like to differentiate ourselves because we're not cloud mining, we're tokenized mining. So, for our viewers, what exactly does that mean?
So, I mean, it's a great point because when we first started discussing this panel and putting it on, the initial title was cloud mining. And we, of course, pushed back and said, it can't be cloud mining because we don't look at ourselves as cloud mining and we look at totally different. So we came on with a term that worked for everybody that was on the panel, and that would be virtualized mining, which I don't think is used that often in the space. So we had to explain that, of course, for the first couple of questions. So on the actual panel discussion. But yeah, we always push back when the question comes in. Oh, you guys are cloud mining. I'm like, no, okay. I've also been in the space since 2017, like Nico. I've seen all of the scams come and go about promising, all of these different hash rate contracts or short term ways where you can just like buy some hash rate and get some Bitcoin very quickly. To be honest, and I still believe this, the majority of them, at least 95 out of 100, are Ponzi schemes. They're pyramid schemes. I mean, this is just the way I look at cloud mining, and this is what we have to educate people about of how we're different than that. Where on our side, it's tokenized Bitcoin mining, so we're the ones building out the actual infrastructure, owning the machines and everything else, and we've tokenized the mining power that our data centers are creating, and then giving that access to it through the digital miner format that we sell through GoMining. And it's no different than if somebody is mining themselves physically in a data center, but they can continue to do this in an easy way with the same calculations that if they had their own miner. So once they understand that, like, okay, then it clicks. And they're like, okay, this is real Bitcoin mining. Is just you're making it so easy that I don't have to worry about any of the operational complexities that come with running a data center, running machines, purchasing power or signing hosting contracts or paying for power up front. There's a lot of things that go into Bitcoin mining that most people don't understand. We've taken all of those complexities out of it and made it as easy as possible.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And what would you say was the outcome of that panel? Did you have any individuals reach out separately? Any interesting questions? Any key takeaways or follow-ups?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there were multiple people that came just specifically to hear more about this topic. And beyond that, there were a few different groups that waited beyond the panel to have in-depth discussions. We've had multiple meetings since then with a bunch of these groups about doing possible things together. It's very exciting, the thought process that people have of how they can use what we're building on the GoMining side and the GoMining institutional side, especially in different and exciting ways, with all of the Bitcoin on a balance sheet discussions that are happening right now. Everybody's trying to chase strategy and trying to figure out how they can do something similar, or just buy Bitcoin just so that they have it on their balance sheet instead of holding dollars or holding some other currency. And some of them are actually starting to think, okay, why not Bitcoin mining? Which we believe that as well, and we think that's where everything's going. But it's nice to see that the people are actually out, coming themselves and outreaching to us and waiting for us after our speeches to have those discussions and want to dig in deeper of how we could possibly work together.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. I think what I found quite interesting was around, there seemed to be a lot of interest around building Bitcoin treasuries or adding Bitcoin to your balance sheet, which, you can do through a multitude of ways. It could be, you could go and buy it on the open market. You could purchase ETFs and then, don't need to worry about custodying it. You could do it through public miners and get indirect exposure, but doesn't really solve the issue. Or you could try and mine yourself, which can be challenging. Um, I think that's where these alternative solutions to self-mining, such as hosted mining, cloud mining, tokenized mining, is a great way of getting that direct exposure to pure virgin Bitcoin, which is highly sought after. It'd be very interesting, I think, Jeremy, to understand in terms of the tokenized approach that Go Mining offers. Um, what's interesting about it in terms of getting Bitcoin, but not just getting Bitcoin, but scaling very quickly. And what are some of the benefits that Go Mining can provide in that space?
As far as scaling the amount of Bitcoin that you can mine, or
Correct. Yeah. So if I think about if I'm self mining, it will take me many months to set up, and then I start mining Bitcoin, and I have to worry about operational needs, etc. But then if I want to expand, I need to rinse
right,
and repeat.
I, I
So
understand where you're coming from. So yeah, I mean that's where we take not only take out the complexities of mining in general, we take out the complexities of running a mining rig or mining site or data center in general, whereas everything's with a push of a button. So if you're going to buy physical Bitcoin ASICs and ship them from China and install them in a data center or even a hosting center or something like that, you're gonna have time. It's gonna time of ship, time to install, get it up and running. You're paying upfront costs for this, everything else. On the Go mining platform, it's a push of a button, and you're already mining Bitcoin day one. And then on top of that, as you're going through the process, at any point in time, you can now reinvest into more hash rate, buy more terahash, upgrade your miner to be more efficient, which is one of the main advantages of Go mining as well. So then, in reality, when you're mining Bitcoin, you're buying physical ASICs for a certain amount of time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the efficiency of them, depending on the Bitcoin network, where we're at in the cycle. There's a bunch of different reasons why you would want to sell off older hardware and buy more efficient hardware. But at some point in time, you will have to make that transition. On the Go mining side, it's also a push of a button. So you have a digital miner that has a certain amount of hash power attached to it. So a certain amount of hash rate at a certain efficiency that you are running for as long as that miner is efficient enough to mine Bitcoin. But at any point in time, you can now upgrade that miner to a better energy efficiency, just like we do in our data centers. So then that keeps you profitable long term, just like a physical Bitcoin miner. So I think that's one of the main ideas. Not only is it so easy to get started and it's so easy that you don't have to worry about the physical side, you can also think like a real Bitcoin miner and continue to grow your fleet either in terahash or make it more efficient over time, also with a click of a button and immediate. So it's immediate. It's immediate as soon as you click the button, it's done, and you've made that transition.
got it. No, that makes sense. Quite interesting. Very innovative, I think. It's fair to say. Nico, it'd be interesting to get your take as someone that comes from a more technical and analytical background, and you're knee deep in like physical mining machines. What's the latest, etc. How do you feel about this model? Because I think if you could do it, it would be great to self mine, but it just needs a certain amount of expertise, a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears. What's your experience been?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's different models that work for different type of investors, right? So there's also investors that really want to have that exposure to infrastructure, want to have these transformers on their balance sheet, are able to write off machines. But then in other cases, yeah, investors rather invest in alternative ways. And I think that the tokenized offer that you have is quite unique. I know from experience from working with another company that it's not easy to get these NFTs up and running from a compliance standpoint, let's say. So yeah, where people see this tokenized hash rate and experience it as a very yeah, user friendly opportunity on the background. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. So I think these alternative ways to get exposure are really good because there's different needs in the market, and as the industry matures, yeah, this will only grow. So
Uh,
Definitely.
I just want to add to that. I mean, as far as somebody who wants access to transformers and infrastructure and data centers, you're talking about a different level of investor. I mean, you're talking about somebody willing to put out millions of dollars into these sites. Anybody else that wants to get involved in Bitcoin mining, they're priced out already because you have to have access to extremely cheap power. You have to be extremely efficient in the way that you run your data centers. You have to understand, the ins and outs. Nico, you know this, I know this, the ins and outs of the game of mining Bitcoin. And you can't just come in and be like, okay, I want access to infrastructure and transformers. I'm going to go build my own data center, even if you have the millions of dollars, and expect to mine Bitcoin as efficient as someone such as GoMining. But then everybody else that's below that level, they're priced out. They have no chance. They have two options. They either host a machine with a hosting provider and take those risks as well, and they're going to pay, a higher cost of power, all that type of stuff, or they're going to go the virtualized way or the tokenized way with GoMining, which makes it as easy as possible. So, in the past, maybe, 2013, 2014, it was fine where you could still maybe run a miner at home and still make some Bitcoin. At this point, if you're not at industrial scale, such as GoMining and other public miners, things like that, it's very difficult to compete.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And also, I remember like in 2021, there was a saying, not your ASIC, not your hash, just like not your keys, not your coins, right? That term, that sentence that we repeat a lot in the Bitcoin community. Not your ASIC, not your hash, meaning that if you don't own the machine, you don't own the hash rate. But I see a change in that approach. Many who have been hosting and buying machines have experienced that. Also, there you need to run your mining fleet, as we say, as a business, because you're dealing with repairs and you're dealing with downtime and machine upgrades. So yeah, even a hosting option as an alternative uh, is already more demanding, I would say, than a
Well,
tokenized. Or
and the miners that are going this route have become more sophisticated as well. So they're making sure that there's that transparency, that they're seeing actually what's happening. Whereas back in 2016, 2017, 2018, there was a lot of like, oh, I'll just trust because they have a website. You know what I mean? Like now it's where you can see these companies, like GoMining, we're being as transparent as possible and sharing as much information as we can to say, okay, you understand that this is what we're doing. Whereas in the past it was like, oh, just trust us. Like, here you go. So things have changed. They have grown, and that's us growing in the space and growing into being more of a, truly institutional business as we continue to grow.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I think it's a good analogy for what we're seeing with the Bitcoin ETFs. You know, it's true about the not your wallet, not your keys, not your wallet. But some people don't necessarily want to self custody, or they're happy to let a trusted party do that. And I think that's one of the reasons why the IBIT, the BlackRock ETF, has been so successful, because BlackRock have a long track record. They're trusted. They're able to do it at scale. They're highly regulatory compliant, and that's why so much capital has flown into Bitcoin ETFs. I think it goes the same way with mining, tokenized mining, hosted mining, etc. In that it ultimately comes down to trust. Fortunately, with GoMining, it's got a long track record. We've been doing it for many years now. You know, you can see there's a lot of transparency around all the different mining pools we use. We now even show camera footage of some of the mining sites. And then those that want additional protection, we have the institutional product, which is regulated, institutionally compliant. We use a third party custodian. So I think it's correct. It ultimately boils down to the user's choice. How much control do they want versus having to actively manage, and where does that trust come? So it's an interesting topic, and I think one that would definitely continue to evolve. I am conscious of time, so let's move on a little bit. But yeah, no, that was great to get your recap, Jeremy. I guess just one takeaway, what would be one big takeaway for you from Vegas?
The biggest takeaway is that Bitcoin has become a lot more serious. I mean, this is discussing the same thing we just went through. It's becoming a lot more institutional. Like the level discussions, the type of people that are at the conference. It's not traders. It's not moon boys, whatever you want to call it, degens. It's sophisticated, investors, sophisticated builders that are building in and around Bitcoin or want to be a part of getting access to Bitcoin on the balance sheet or mining Bitcoin, or they want to know what's this big change that's happened over this last year and a half since the ETFs were approved, since the new administration came in and started talking about, oh, we're going to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet. States are starting to approve strategic reserves to hold Bitcoin at the state level. Now you're talking about mining products getting pushed out with the Trump family buying Griffin and then doing the deal with Hut 8. I mean, all this stuff is happening all within a year and a half, and it's made a total shift from it being the old Bitcoin days where everybody laughed at us to now asking questions like, okay, how do I get involved? Like, okay, I'm ready to listen to you. And this is what we laugh about with the friends we've have in the space that've been around that long, like Nico has, like I have, like you have, Fakhul. It's like, okay, before they laughed at us, like, oh, go do your Bitcoin thing, go mine your Bitcoin. And now they're like, come tell us more, come share. Cause I mean, they have to. If BlackRock's in it and BlackRock's telling you that you need 2, 3, 4, 5% in your portfolio in Bitcoin, okay, you better look at it and you better take a look. So that shift has happened. And it was an amazing conference. It was, I think we had 35,000 people or something like that showed up.
That's correct. So, yeah.
Our booth was packed from industry day. So industry day, anybody that doesn't know the Bitcoin conference, day one's industry day. The next 2 days are the main conference. And there's 2 separate tickets. You can get for all 3 days or you can get for the second 2 days. On industry day, Fakhul, you can back me up. I think, Nico, you were at our booth on industry day.
Yeah.
It was packed on industry day, which is not retail. This is just everyone coming in, finding out about mining, things like that. Everyone trying to find out, everyone playing our Satoshi game, trying to win sats and all this type of stuff. It was amazing. I think it was great for GoMining. And I think, where the space is going, I think the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years is going to be amazing and super exciting for Bitcoin.
Definitely. It's funny because I remember, I think we had over 20 of us at the event manning the booth. And I remember some of our colleagues saying on industry day at the end of it, wow, it was so busy. I'm so tired. I was like, you do know this is a quiet day. Be there. So yeah, we had to game plan that. But it was really interesting. But okay, well,
That's the one takeaway, is that next year we might need more people.
we need more people, definitely. Well, look, thanks, Jeremy, for giving us a business perspective of Vegas and your takeaways. I guess, Nico, you were there with your technical hat on, and I believe you had a panel that you moderated as well. So, would love to hear a little bit more about that.
No, yeah, I think my impression was quite in line with Jeremy's. 35,000 people was a record. Las Vegas is a great place to host such an event. The venue was very well chosen, I believe. One big takeaway, I think, is Jeremy called it the Moon Boys, but before these type of conferences were more of a Bitcoin meetup, and now you see that business to business elements growing and growing. And also the mining space is really the mining industry is really left its foot mark, let's say. You see that the major sponsors, including GoMining, are mining companies. So all the big sponsors, mining companies, but also the expo. If you went to see the trade show part of the conference, I think it's over half of maybe 60-70% is it's mining companies. So there's a huge presence of mining, more than there was in the past. We saw this grow already in Nashville, but this trend has been continuing. Yeah, so I think that's important to understand. And then amongst the miners, there was a lot of display of containerized solutions, which was interesting. So you could do these walkthroughs of air cooled, immersion cooled, hydro cooled containers. I think after that, the biggest offer you saw was hosting companies and service providers for the industry itself. I hosted a session on the mining stage, so there was a separate mining village, and then that included a mining stage. I hosted a session about cooling solutions, and I think what's interesting and in line with what Jeremy and I were sharing is the participants of that. I hear a bit of a background noise. The two of the participants of that panel, one came from BP Castrol and the other from ExxonMobil. I think it's interesting to see that there were participating companies that are not necessarily Bitcoin native, that come from more legacy industries, see the industry, the mining industry, as a fast growing and maturing sector, and see an opportunity to serve that as part of their business. I think that's very interesting to see these legacy companies dipping their toes into the mining industry. Um, and on the stage, we compared different cooling systems, and the discussion started with an announcement that Bitmain did earlier that week. They announced their latest model, the S23, and shared that this machine has an efficiency of below 10 joules per terahash. For those that don't know what efficiency or how that is measured, you look at how much computing power is being produced using a certain amount of energy, and that's measured in joules per terahash. The lower this number, the better, and we've seen this number dropping over the last years. Uh, about 10 years ago, these machines were produced with 55 nanometer chips. Now it's 3 nanometer chips. So this has improved the efficiency tremendously. But yeah, dipping below the 10 joules per terahash, there's going to be a limit in, or these machines are reaching the limit in further efficiency improvements. So that means that mining companies need to focus on other aspects of their business to optimize for efficiency, which is on the operational side, right? And that's where these cooling systems come in, where it's optimizing your air cooled facility or switching to a hydro cooled or immersion cooled setup that provides a higher efficiency. That a lot of discussion we had around that, especially because nowadays the machines are cheap. So what do miners do? Do they invest in a more expensive build out to optimize for efficiency, or do they prefer maybe a more economic build out and have a fast return on investment because they put all their money towards the maximum amount of hash rate? So I believe that was a very interesting part. We also see the industry maturing in other aspects. Do you want to ask a question, of course? You unmute him.
I do. I'm keen.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about the S23. What? There's been quite a few new models from some of the different suppliers. Do you think the S23 is going to be the new market leader, or does it have stiff competition from others?
Well, Bitmain is a market leader, right? Like they have over 75% of market share. However, new players are stepping in. So you've seen Bitdeer popping up, and then also Auradine, which produces an ASIC that's manufactured in the US. So they have a strong USP there. Uh, and Bitdare already did testing of their chips that showed very promising results. So it's going to be a race who is going to actually bring that machine sub 10 joules per terahash first to market. So uh, it's one offer. It's not the only offer. And I think what's interesting to see with these new players is that in order to distinguish themselves, they need to yeah, take the miner in mind, let's say, and listen to the operator, whereby before these machines were just produced and put on the market, and then there was the problem of the miner, let's say. Now, yeah, in order to distinguish yourself, you need to provide options that make the life of the miner easier. And I saw I went to a private room of Auradine, and I got like a walkthrough of one of their latest machines, and there were different features in that machine that are anticipating on that niche, let's say. One example is that their hydro machine has a hot swappable PSU, a power supply unit. This power supply is a part of the machine that yeah every now and then breaks down or needs to be repaired, and being able to pull that PSU out without taking the entire unit out of its rack is such an example of how to make the life of a miner or operator easier.
Definitely. So Jeremy, when are we getting some new S23s?
I'm sure those discussions are already being made beforehand. So
Definitely. I think it's worth pausing for a second because people assume that it's always best to get the latest machine. And it'll be interesting to get your take on this, Jeremy. As I understand it, that isn't necessarily always the case because typically the newest machines are in limited supply. They trade at a huge premium, so your net price per terahash could actually be higher. So in the short to medium term, it's not as profitable as the long term. Is that fair to say?
yeah, and it just depends on your strategy. I mean, you can mine with old hardware in a bull market that costs you, a few dollars per terahash, and you're not worried about, repairing or fixing those machines. You're kind of, tossing them away if they break and just put a new one in. And you can run at a lower uptime. There's a lot of different things you can do where you can be profitable. But I mean, the big players, they're not really playing that game. They're continuing to upgrade their fleets to the most efficient miners because they're thinking long term. They're not thinking about short term profits. I mean, there's a strategy where, yeah, if you have maybe the not the latest greatest, but maybe like the last generation before that, during a bull market, it's better to have maybe more hash rate than it is to be extremely efficient. But then as soon as that ends, you better be jumping into the more efficient machines to prepare yourself for the next halving. If you don't do that, you're going to be in serious trouble. So if you understand the game, you can play kind of those swings. But you always have to be continuing to be pushing the efficiency and trying to upgrade as much as possible before the next halving and before the next cycle begins.
Got it. Makes sense. And
And
Nico,
yeah, maybe to piggyback on that, coming back to the point I was trying to make earlier, as this efficiency, these efficiency improvements are reaching a limit, I foresee that in the coming decade, whereby the previous decade it was just a matter of optimizing and renewing your fleet. In the coming decade, those machines will run longer because the efficiency improvements or the steps will be smaller. So they from a uh, from economical standpoints, they will be yeah mining longer, and then the optimization comes really at the at the infrastructure level. So
Yeah.
make sure these machines are up as much as possible. Whether that repair processes go quickly, things like that.
Yep.
yeah, no,
There you go.
I agree as well. And actually, I think we did a piece on that recently around how the rate of the network growth is starting to transition away from exponential S curve to more of a nominal, and that's because the law of power is generally reducing. You can only become so efficient, and so miners have to look at alternative levers they can pull around energy costs, etc. So there's a good
It's
point.
also very dependent on the location, right? So if you want to apply a hydro cool to miners, you need to have access to good quality water. And in some cases, if it's a remote site, it even makes sense to put in older miners that have bigger chips that are less sensitive, let's say. So there's different models that behave well in different environments. So it's not only the economical standpoint, but also the environmental and the context of where operation is being built out.
Very true. And Nico, what would you say was the main takeaways from your panel? What would be one key message you would want to share with everyone?
Well, we talked about the maturity of the mining space. I think it's very interesting to see, and this is what we talked about quite a bit. Is that there's machines coming out that have this 3U or 2U form factor, which means they're not anymore these shoebox type of machines, but as they called on the panel, it's pizza box shape. So it's these traditional server racks, let's say, that are being launched. And the interesting part there is that as it's becoming that form factor is becoming standardized, it allows for traditional data centers or AI HPC data centers to integrate Bitcoin mining much easier into their operations. And the conclusion on the panel was that we foresee a future where these data center operators run different types of computing loads, let's say. So they can run machine learning models, AI alongside Bitcoin mining, whereby Bitcoin mining has that unique feature of being a flexible load, being able to switch on and off this mining part of such a data center, which in turn allows these data center operators to scale in a rapid way and optimize their energy management and make sure that they use underutilized infrastructure and power as well.
Definitely. Well, look, thanks for your thoughts on that, Nico, and Vegas in general. And I guess for those that are familiar with the term, I rounded out with the hat trick of speaker slot at Vegas. So I was fortunate enough to be invited to give a keynote. Although that keynote was interesting, not because of the topic, but because, as Jeremy mentioned, our booth was so busy, and my keynote was on the final day. By the time it came to the morning of the keynote, I'd literally lost my voice from speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people. So I had to take a lot of medicine, which was interesting actually, because at the pharmacy they wanted to see ID, which was new for me. Coming from London. And I had to apologize when I was giving my keynote because I sounded like, um, like I'd literally lost my voice. But you know, uh, the keynote was great. My topic was around looking beyond Bitcoin ETF. We've seen huge institutional adoption in the Bitcoin space, especially with the catalyst that was the IBIT, the BlackRock ETFs, and how institutions have piled in. And just as a recap, the IB ETF is the the strongest performing ETF of all time, and it's grown the quickest. And it only continues, which is great, for the wider industry. But what comes next? Institutions are already asking and looking at ways of getting additional exposure to Bitcoin and its underlying network, and that's where Bitcoin mining come into play. And so I spoke briefly around, what are some of the limitations around ETF? What does mining offer in terms of native yield with regards to Bitcoin? How historically, Bitcoin mining has proven to generate a greater return over passive Bitcoin. And we spoke about, a few different things, and how we're now starting to see already the evolution and the new, swath of financial products around Bitcoin. So you had spot Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin futures, you then had Bitcoin ETFs, which really made it mainstream. What's next? We're starting to see structured products. I briefly spoke about the GoMining Alpha Blocks Fund, where we have a product that offers Bitcoin yield. And look, I think that's only continuing, and I do think that more and more players are interested in Bitcoin mining, even if they hold significant exposure in Bitcoin itself. I think actually, for those that didn't see recently, Tether CEO Paulo mentioned that they expect, it'll be interesting to see, and it'll be great to get your respective take, that they will become the larger Bitcoin miner by the end of 2025, which I mean, that's a bold statement, but their rationale for it was quite interesting. It wasn't so much about, I think they hold over 100. I'm not sure. Maybe Nico can give me on the amount they hold. They hold a lot amount of Bitcoin already, but their view as to why they want to get involved in mining was because they care about the network, the security of the network, because they have such high holdings, and so they're diversifying their overall balance sheet. Bitcoin is one way of doing that, and one way they're thinking about protecting that, that investment or that balance sheet is by participating in mining as well. So, Nico, it sounds like you there.
That's a very interesting take, but before you mentioned shortly the Virgin coins, that's a trend that I've been seeing as well. Virgin coins are newly emitted bitcoins that did not hop from one wallet to the other a lot, and I see more and more family offices, institutions looking for that Virgin coin that you can obtain through mining, and they are doing so because they want to make sure these bitcoins haven't gone through contaminated wallets, right? So there was no or how do you say it, like bad actors that used that bitcoin in one way or the other. And the premiums depend on how many times these coins were moved. But even if these coins moved 2 or 3 times, I still see institutional players paying 3 to 5% of a premium on those coins. So yeah, investing in mining is a way to get access to these virgin coins, which I think is going to be interesting to see how it plays out, because each halving it will be more difficult to get these virgin coins. So
Exactly.
I agree.
And I'll add that I think Tether just wants more Bitcoin. I think the best way to get Bitcoin is to mine it. So, of course, they're going to take that massive balance sheet that they have and put that into something that produces the best yield out there, which is Bitcoin yield from Bitcoin mining. So, I think that's it. All comes down to that. They can say whatever they want to say to make it sound better. I just think they want more Bitcoin. Fakhul, question for you. Like, what was your feedback on overall, the Vegas conference and the quality of discussions and discussions you had outside of your keynote and then around the booth and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, with regards to the keynote, I got some interesting feedback how I sounded like JFK Jr. Altman, but I also had a lot of follow up conversations around what does this next evolution of financial products around Bitcoin, what do they entail, what do they mean, how does that deviate from Bitcoin originally, and I think my key message is that it doesn't really. It's just a different way of getting exposure to Bitcoin in a compliant way. But as you guys have touched upon, mining has a huge amount of benefits, and the virgin Bitcoin side is very important. I think I couldn't reinforce that enough, because once you start adding assets on your balance sheet, and if you're a big company, um, and where reputational risk is important to you, think of pension funds, huge treasury, state, etc. If it comes out that for whatever reason, maybe some Bitcoin you hold and you weren't aware was involved in some sort of malicious activity, that's not going to look great. And so, one very easy way of avoiding that is getting access to virgin Bitcoin, and the only way you can do that is through mining, because it's fresh. It it's fresh Bitcoin. Beyond that, in terms of what do they have? Well, do you know what was interesting? Fortunately, as a speaker, we got an all access pass, so we got to go behind the scenes. We got to go to the vault, which was the VIP area. We saw a lot of famous faces there. We heard a lot of alpha. I think my key message or my key takeaway was the sheer breadth of individuals that are interested in Bitcoin. So, as you touched upon, it isn't just about enthusiasts or early crypto holders or DJs. That now we had government officials we were talking to big institutions, we were talking to influencers, we were talking to everyone, and that was great to see. And that was the first for me as well. On the boost side, and actually this is a great transition into the next segment. I mean, It was amazing. I really enjoyed it, but I think we were probably overwhelmed with the sheer amount of interest in our booth, which was great. But and we thought we prepared for it. We had well over 20 individuals, and the amount of people that went through. And look, it's testament to a team. The marketing, the on-site team, everyone did a phenomenal effort. The one that I'm going to flip that back to you, Jeremy. What did we have going on in our booth? We had so much going on, and I think the way we marketed it, it was engaging, it was interactive, it was interesting. Give us a rundown if you wouldn't mind.
Oh yeah. So at the booth, I mean, the main thing was that kind of attracted everybody to the booth was, first of all, the booth looked like a large miner. It was kind of this large kind of, we have digital miners that we sell. All of them are special art. They all look very unique. We kind of brought that into the event as well. And then we had a game called this, like, Satoshi games, where users could come in and play different games and win sats and win tokens to be able to possibly win a digital miner. And then on top of that, those sats would be added to an overall pool that would be given away at the end of the conference. And everybody loved playing these games. They're interactive. They're fun. Everybody's winning sats. They're happy. They're winning miners. They're like getting their first GoMining miner on their phone. They're seeing that it's already mining them Bitcoin. And we had multiple conversations with people that they got that miner, like, I'm mining Bitcoin. Like, I'm like, right now I'm already like, how did that happen? Like, how is that possible? You got to go back and explain to them, like, wait, this is how it works, blah, blah, blah. It was just a lot of amazing conversations around that. I mean, if we had to, like, put it into numbers, we had, thousands of people that attended the booth. I think we had probably over 1,000 new signups on the platform, just from people that signed up in front of us at the platform, or at the booth. And on top of that, we had that total fund at the end, which ended up being about 11 million sats that was given away after the conference. I think we had 3 winners. Each one of them got like 3.65 million sats as the winners after the conference. The chance of them winning that was like 0.5% or something like that, because there were so many people that came, so many people that signed up, had tickets and things like that to win this raffle. Just the fact that they won that was amazing as well. So beyond that, we had kind of in the back, we had kind of like a private area where we had like the VIP zone, where we were selling a special miner that we created just for Vegas, which was in the shape of a duck. We just came up with something totally unique, totally different for Vegas, so that when you saw that, they're like, what is that? And so you start to explain to them that, okay, this is a special miner. It was the largest miner you can get on our platform, which is a 5,000 terahash miner. And we sold out all of those during the event. So 25 miners, duck miners, were sold in the VIP zone. Fakhul and I were back there pretty much from the time that it opened, unless we were offsite in meetings or at our panel discussions or at his keynote. We were there having discussions with potential partners, potential allocators, potential customers of GoMining, everybody that's interested. We were having discussions and meetings morning till night. It was amazing. Yes, it was a lot, and it was great, but I would do it again tomorrow. It was great.
Definitely. And we had a celebrity, one of our ambassadors join us, didn't we?
We did. So we had Habib. I always mess up his last name. I think I have it. What is it?
Numero. I've met them. MMA. If you know MMA, you'll know Khabib.
Yeah, you'll know Habib. Everybody knows who Habib is. Just say Habib MMA, and everybody knows who he is. So Habib's been one of our ambassadors for many years. He stopped by the booth, was shaking hands, taking selfies with everybody, hanging out. It was great. We didn't even know that he was going to stop by. It was just like, okay, we found out about a half an hour before. Okay, Habib's coming. I'm like, okay, bring him in. And then, of course, that doubles the amount of people that are around the booth. We're like, oh, great, even more people. Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
At the location was also very well. Like walking to the main stage and the Genesis stage, you had to pass by the booth. So I think that was great.
That's true. He took my pin, which I'm okay with Khabib. I didn't want to fight him, but GoMining pin. It looked good. It looked better on him than it did on me, right?
He shows up and he's like, I want one of those GoMining pins that you put on your lapel. He's like, I don't want the small one. I want a big one. And the only one that I knew that had one was Fakhul. I was like, Fakhul, sorry, give me your pin.
I mean, at that point, I would have taken myself as the outcry. That's true. You don't say no to him and his entourage, which is. We also had a side event, Jeremy. We were so busy. How was the side event?
Oh yeah, I forgot about the side event. We're talking about the booth and everything. So on I think it was with the second day. At the in the evening, we had a private cocktail lounge in the Palazzo, which is right next connected to the Venetian, where we had all of our closest partners that we work with, partners that we're in discussions with, family offices, investors, everybody that we've been in contact with even before the conference, we're already working with, and who we've met during the event. We all came together, for drinks, discussions. It was a great. I mean, for me, I don't know how cool you were there. For me, the time flew by like it was like a half an hour. I thought, we had 4 or 5 hours to hang out with everybody, and it went over in like a half an hour. It felt like to me. Ended up taking a bunch of the people there and had an after party after that, and just kept the thing going. It's Vegas, by the way, so we're like, okay, what we going next? So it was an amazing night, celebrating Go Mining with all of our partners and potential customers and clients for the future. So definitely was a positive outcome for that event, and we would repeat that in the future as well.
Definitely. I think the proximity to the conference has really helped as well. So a huge amount of people turn up. We had some interesting swag we gave around away. But yeah, look, all of this great stuff, it's all on the website. I encourage people to take a look. The team's put together some great Gizzle reels, summaries, etc. I'm conscious of time though, so any final reflections on Vegas and Jeremy? Let me put you on the spot again. Is Go Mining coming back to Vegas? Because Bitcoin 2026 is going to be at Vegas.
Well, I mean, we haven't booked the booth yet. I mean, we haven't, but the way that it went in Bitcoin Vegas, I don't see why we wouldn't have a large presence there again. I mean, the U.S. is our number one market. We're growing exponentially here, and the Bitcoin conference is the place where you come out and you show out. So I'm sure we'll be there in full force. Hopefully, even bigger than this year. We'll be there next year.
Definitely. And I recall, I forget his name, you'll know that the founder came by of the conference and told us we had a great booth and it was the most busy, which was good.
Yeah, but we've been working closely with the Bitcoin Magazine guys. David Bailey and his team. They're amazing. They've always put on a great conference. We did an event with them in Amsterdam last fall, Nico's home ground, and then we did it even bigger here. So they were amazing, and they even gave us the feedback. They're like, guys, you guys blew it out of the park. Like it was beyond and considered one of the best boosts out there, and the amount of traction that we had was amazing. So it was good to hear that from David Bailey and his team, and because they're the ones that are the experts in putting these things on, and they were blown away as well by what we did there.
Definitely. And Nico, you touched upon how it was the most attended event. Was it better than the one that took place at home for you?
Well, the one in Amsterdam was really special for me because I migrated to Argentina 2.5 years ago. So being back there, and there I was able to provide a presentation as well. So that was very special to me. But I think yeah, the Bitcoin conference in the States is just of a different level because of the amount of participants, but also for mining specific. 35 or 36% of all hash rate is being produced in the States. So for mining, it's a huge event, bigger than in other parts of the world. So
Definitely.
Amsterdam had its own vibe that was totally different. It tight knit, very close. It was an amazing event as well, just in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Vegas, like Vegas, it went big and bold, and
Well, it was Vegas. You got to go big.
exactly. And look, for those that couldn't join, encourage check out the website, GoMining Institutional, even the
There's a bunch of videos and a bunch of recaps and everything of everything that happened in Vegas. If anyone wants to see it, everything's on X.
definitely. And on that note, I think we can wrap up. We're still working through follow-ups on Vegas. Was the sheer amount of meetings we had. So as always, thanks Nico. Great having you. Jeremy, thanks for hopping on, talking to us about Vegas, and thanks everyone for joining us. And we look forward to speaking to you and providing key insights, analysis on mining. Check out the website, Go Mining. for thought leadership, interesting content, and what's going on in the Bitcoin mining scene and the wider ecosystem. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.